You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And yes, it is. It is that time once again for another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I'm your host, Joe D. McPhee, and you already saw the topic for tonight. We got a big, well, I wouldn't say very big, but it's a decent new comic book pickups for the week, new comic book highlight for the week. We got a lot of stuff to talk about here, but before we get into it, we always have to do our due diligence here to let people know about Stupid O'Clock happening 1 hour into the show. If we go into our second hour, which starts at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is then followed up by Last Man Standing at 1 p.m. Eastern. Then you get a respite until Monday, where you have Nicholas Tucker, and never mind the furthermore at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on that upcoming Monday. And let us not forget about Comic Book Spectrum, always on Thursdays, right here on this channel at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time here and 8 p.m. Eastern. So on that note, let's take a moment here, get a little bit of a, because why? We got a very, if I could say, a very big new comic book pickups for the week here. And when I say big, it's going to be a while. So it's going to be quite some time here. So we're going to start with the part of the boxes that I have books where I'm going to be like, well, I might not keep these here. So we're going to start with Blue Beetle number 14 and Captain Atom Annual number 1. These are books that I might not end up keeping here. This is part of the limited series of Fantastic Force. This is part of the four issue run of Fantastic Force. We got Cable number 35, Legion Secret Files, and then we got part 2 of the 12-part Bane Conquest, the newer Alpha Flight 13, Animal Man 57, Legionnaires. I might actually put this back over there because I do have a run of Legionnaires, but yeah, Legionnaires 34, so that might be going into the keep pile. Iron Man 235 here. I'm still debating what I'm going to do with all the Iron Mans that I have here. And Secret Origins, highlighting the power of the Atom, Secret Origins number 29. So that's the part that is in the pile that is like, yeah, I might end up bringing those to whatnot. I might end up selling those. I don't know. But now it's time for the stuff that I'm planning to keep. And we're going to start out with another full set of Naomi. This is from issue 1 all the way through issue number 6 here. So we got that going all the way through number 6. So we got another full set of Naomi that we got in our collection as of right now. And then we're going to start off with a money book that is going to go to CGC soon here. So we got a full run of Young Avengers from the first run of Young Avengers. Yes, the number 1 is going to CGC very, very soon here. So I have to put that in my go to CGC pile, which I'm going to do over here. Issue number 2, which I already have one that is graded at a 9.8. Issue 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that is 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 for this volume of Young Avengers, which is a nice, cool series here. And the only reason I talked myself into it because what they charge for the full set actually justify this one book right here, kind of justify it, because that was the only one that I didn't have. I have the director's cut of number 1, but not the actual number 1 itself here. So now I have an actual first printing number 1. So we're going to get that graded and go from there. Unlike volume 2, for those who are out there, I'm still looking for a Young Avengers volume 2 number 1A cover, but I got the blank. I got a blank. You know what that means eventually. Issue number 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 6, 7. I'm trying to get my hand out the way for you guys can see the number 7. 8. No, that's not a blank cover because you got Hulkling down there. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So we got a full run of volume 2 of Young Avengers here. And then we're going to go deep into the box of pickups and goodness here, such as Mighty Thor number 1, Jane Foster Thor number 1. We got a Storm number 1. I'm probably going to send this one to CGC as well. That's probably going in my CGC pile, even though I already have another one in storage here. Wonder Woman 164. Another Wonder Woman number 1. I'm debating whether or not this one is going to go or another one that I have already set aside here, but I need to get something that is better than, I believe, a 8.5. And there's the facsimile number 1. We're just going to put that with the rest of it. And then we got some more volume 2 stuff to have as extras, which is issue 10, 12. Looks want to be falling all over the place, but good thing I have caught them the way that I did. $11, and then we got Secret Files number 1, Wonder Woman Secret Files number 1 here. This is a different version of Secret Files that I didn't have. And then I got another copy of Wonder Woman Gallery here. And then we get into series that I wasn't thinking about getting, but I ended up thinking about it, and I believe that there's only maybe a couple more issues that are missing. So we got Angela, Queen of Hell, number 1, number 2, and number 3. I believe I'm missing issues 4 through 5 or 4 through 7. I can't remember off the top of my head here. And then we got the limited series of Avengers Sanction, full run of that. That's issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, and issue 4 of Avengers Sanction here. And then we got the short run 3-issue limited series of Iron Fist. So issue number 1 from that run of Iron Fist, issue 2, and issue 3. And then we got another copy of Cat number 2. Again, this might end up in the to be graded pile along with all the other stuff here. We got Supergirl number 23, which is nice and shiny and foily for a lot of the people out there here. We got Static Shock number 1. And then we got to go along with my Storm number 1, a Storm number 2. I believe this is from volume 3. Number 2. That's an extra one here. And there's issue number 2 of Mighty Thor. And then we got issues, I believe this is issue 4 and 5 of Double Impact. So that's issue 4 and issue 5. These are extras as a whole here. And then as a nice little gift here, which I'm going to eventually read all the way through from Comico, we got Ginger Fox, the full run of Ginger Fox, issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, and issue 4. That's the full run of Ginger Fox, which I still have to read all the way through here. And then another pickup that was thrown in here, which, you know, I'm grateful that it was thrown in here. We got the first issues of the Dynamite run of Miss Fury. I believe this is Miss Fury volume 2, I believe. So we got issue 1, 2, and 3 of Miss Fury. That's going to be another series that I'm going to eventually finish here. And then we're going to finish up with some other randos before we get into the bigger box. And the bigger box is what's going to wow people here. We got issue number 6 of X-Force, the Wizard Zero of Avengers. We got a Max number 1. Yep, that is a Max number 1. Avengers 212. Huntress number 2. Ghost. Actually, this is Comics Greatest Worlds number week 3 featuring Ghost. And then we got Boris the Bear's issues number 19, 20, and 21. I'm not certain if I'm going to sell Boris the Bear for some reason. It's definitely not really my wheelhouse as a whole here, but nevertheless, there is some value to those books here. So I'm not just going to like thumb my nose at it as a whole here. So that covers the greater majority of what came in this week, minus, and like I said, minus the bigger stuff here. So we're going to go in here and we're going to reach up in here to show you that from CGC, I think that's my invoice that's rattling around up in there. Yep. So from CGC, there it is. My first one of these here, a 9/8 Gotham City Sirens number 1 from volume 1. So we got one of those. And we got another Savage She-Hulk number 1. This is a 5.0 here. A little bit disappointed in this one here, but it is designated as a newsstand here. So that probably be something that eventually I will either come to terms of letting it go for it to be sold or given away or something to that magnitude here. But that is the 6th one that I have that is graded. Yes, I think it's 6. It's either 6 or 7. But there is more that came in. And we're going to pop the top off of this one here. Also that came in. We got my second A-Force number 1, 9.8. That's my second one. And then finally, I finally got one of these actually graded. It's Avengers 227, and it came back at 8.5 here. And we got comments here. Yeah, Tori's here saying it's like, I have an unrelated question when you're done. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I will address it. Address it as soon as we're done with this here. So I got my very first one of these graded. This was one of the better ones that I have here that I set aside to get graded. So I got a couple more that I'm probably going to send in just to see how if I could get one that's a little bit better, that I have one a little bit better or not. But I'm happy with the 8.5 for now. And this is the second one that I sent in, and it came back better than the first one that I sent in. So we got Incredible Hulk 282 at an 8.0. So this is my second one of 282 here. My other one was a 7.5. This one came back as an 8.0. And then I'm somewhat happy with these two here. However, I'm still going to try with some of the other ones that I have to see if I could get a better grade. I have a 9.0 of Action Comics 592. I talked a lot about this book, but there's my 9.0 of that. And a 9.0 of 593. So yeah, I've been talking a lot about that book here. I'm still trying to shoot for better grades. Do I have to have a 9.8? Not really, but it would be nice. Just like with some of the other books that I would prefer a 9.8, like the Avengers 227, when Monica Rambeau joins the Avengers. I would not mind a 9.8, but if I get one, I get one. But I'm happy with the 8.5 for right now. I'm not going to try to kill myself to get a lot of the other stuff here. But that is comic book pickups for the week here. And before we go to our brand new section of the show here, I believe Tori has a question. So go ahead and shoot away with your question here. Oh yeah, that's where I put the Gender Fox here. So I'll leave that right there for right now. So go ahead with your question here, Tori. So go ahead with your question. I'm waiting for your question here before we go into our next segment of the show here, because like I said, I'm here for you guys. Related question: what do you do with your disappointed slabs? I keep them. I keep them. Like I showed you before. Like I showed you before. This 5.0. This 5.0 to me is a disappointing grade. Do I accept it? Yes. I'm not one of those ones that's going to be like, oh man, such and such grading company screwed me. It's like, no, it came back to 5.0. I looked at the graders notes. Once I have it in my hand, I'm seeing like the imperfections that they kind of looked at here. And I'm like, okay, fine. It's like I looked at it, it's like, okay, fine, this, that, and the other. It's like, well, is it really worth? And this is one of the things that makes me cringe a bit about those. It's like, oh, I got robbed, this, that, and the other. It's like, I'm going to crack this thing out and do whatever I need to do to resubmit it to get a better grade. It's like, no, you do all that stuff before you send it in. I can accept this. I can accept this as is. And like I said, this is my either 6th or 7th one that I have graded. The one that I'm truly disappointed in of this series is that I believe I have a 5.5 signed by David Anthony Kraft that came back as a green label, which eventually I probably should send back in just to get it, get it certified by JSA. Just for the signature. It may still be green label because they said that the bottom staple is detached, and I was like, it wasn't detached when I sent it to you. So, well, then again, I really didn't have that book in hand that was submitted for me because of the source that I bought it from. But nevertheless, when you get a disappointing grade, I don't look at it as far as, oh, get upset. Do I crack this out? Yada, 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 yada. It's like, no, accept it for what it is. It is a 5.0. If I'm one of those people that have just money to burn like that, because you have to think about it. I spent money to have this thing certified and graded. If I have money to blow to get it, have it graded again and again and again and again and again, so be it. Do what you want to do. If you want to crack it out, crack it back out. Do whatever you want to do, this, that, and the other. Take the chance of destroying the book that's inside of here, that's on you. But for me, you have to accept the grade that it is. You're going to have to, evaluate how you're grading your books as a whole here, because I learned from disappointing grades. When this came back at 5.0, I learned from it. I learned from it. It's like I could look at it and see what is in the grader notes and this, that, and the other, and learn from it. The greatest value that I got from disappointing grades, or in a better sense, grades that came back better than what I thought. Like my grades of interest number 80, which is the first Doom Patrol. It was sold to me as a 1.5. It got graded as a 4.5. I learned a lot about the grading aspects of that. And that is an older book than this. So you just can't get overly upset about getting a bad grade on a book where your eyes get blinded to, okay, grading criteria is grading criteria, but learn from where you're evaluating the book's grade. If you feel if you felt that was a better than a 5.0, and you see all the different notes that they made, that they checked off, and you see those things vividly, then you might want to reevaluate. It's like, oh, I thought that, and it's like, I thought it wasn't that bad. It's like, yeah, it really is bad as what you think it is. I mean, it's just like, I believe it's like my newsstand version of Sensational She-Hulk. My newsstand version of Sensational She-Hulk 40. I believe that came back either an 8.5 or an 8.0 when I was suspecting a 9. But they said that there was fingerprints on there. It's like when I originally sent it in, I didn't see the fingerprints. When it finally got cleaned and pressed and everything, that's when I saw what they saw. That's when I started seeing what they saw and everything to that magnitude. So you have to be very, very careful on that aspect here. And have you seen Supes? No, I have not seen Superman as of yet. I have not seen this new Superman movie. I am not one for the theater. I will admit that. And what I mean by not one for the theater is like I have not gone to a movie theater in about maybe 2 decades to see a movie. That concept is now officially foreign to me. Have I ever been to a movie theater? Yes. In my college days, as a little kid, this, that, and the other. Yeah, I've been to the movie to go see movies in the theater. But now with the cost, and we're going to get into this, with the cost of movies to go in and buy a ticket with libations and everything, it's not even worth the money anymore to go to a movie theater and have that as a whole here. But before we get into the topic about the entertainment and everything, we're going to do a couple other things here. And it said, yeah, my bad. My dad. Okay, I think she meant my dad took me, and I was like, I wonder what Joe thinks here. I haven't seen it. I'm going to wait till it comes out to streaming. So I am like one of the last people to see these types of things anyway, unless somebody like put my arm behind my back and like drags me to the movies or everything. No, I could wait. I could wait until it comes out on streaming or something to that magnitude and watch it that way here. But with that in mind here, let's get to our brand new segment of the show that was brand new as of last week here, which is the comic highlight of the week. And what is the comic highlight of the week? These are like books that books that I want to kind of like put out there to say, hey, it might be on your guys' radar to either A, go out there and read it, or B, go out there to get graded here. And tonight is going to be more of a graded type deal here, because why? Because I'm finally pulling a trigger on it, on these two. The first book that I'm pulling the trigger on, and if you have it, you may want to think about getting it graded. It's Catwoman 51. This one in particular here, the mugshot. I know every fanboy, Catwoman fanboy wants a copy of this and whatnot and everything to that magnitude. But the problem here is that this Adam Hughes cover is highly sought after Do I get it graded for the money aspect of it? No. But if you do get your hands on one of these, it is worth the money to have it preserved. There's other ways that you could preserve it. Like right now, this one is not in a mylar. I could take it out of this bagging board, put it in my light, put it in a mylight and everything, and keep it out of the sunlight and all the other good stuff. That's an excellent way to preserve it. But issues like this, covers like this need to be preserved as a whole here, because it was, it's like one of those things that it didn't cause controversy, but it's like one of those sought after covers just for the sheer value, the strike value of that here. So I don't know why she's texting me now. Bear with me for another moment here. Just bear with me for a moment. And the second one, so pretty much give me another second here. I just these types of things just irritate me to no end, but it's not worth getting upset about. It's just going to be one of those things that you kind of live and learn. You kind of live and learn. You kind of do what you gotta do and everything. You kind of live and learn, deal with. I swear. But anyway, the second book, we seen it before, but this is the actual second print. And I want you guys to kind of help me with this one here. For some reason, this book right here is more valuable than the original first print for some reason. This is not really as rare as people think it is. Is it in shorter supply? Yes, but it's not as rare because, again, this was the Gotham City Sirens #1 that I originally got from the comic book store when it first came out, was the second print. The first print sold out way quicker. So that tells me it's like, I don't understand why there's a higher price tag on a second print than the first print. But yes, I'm planning to send that in as a whole too here. And let me get back to some of the things here. So it's like, yeah, that's like, yeah, they call it the Joan Jett cover. Yep, I agree here. And there's Parallax here, and there, well, it be me. There she is. And then it's like, yeah, the whole second print book thing is so skewed. Yep, it is. It's like some second prints are worth more than the first print, and then other times it's backwards. The first print is worth more. And it's like, I just don't understand the logic with when certain people value second printing more than the first printing when first printing came out first. And it's like, in this day of modern, if I could say, manufactured rarity, it just doesn't make any sense anymore. Wow, it's like that is the first comic book cover I have seen by DC that that was sexy. I could actually show you more, but yeah, this is one of more sought after ones here. And like I said, I have that one in first print and graded as a 9.8. So it's kind of like one of those things that, you know, if it wasn't for the fact that this book had a higher price point, I would have never given a second thought to have it graded. But because the value of it is almost 5 times greater than the first print, I'm just going ahead and thinking, to myself, yeah, let me go ahead and get that taken care of here. But saying all that to say, we're about to get into like the major part of the show here once I take care of one other thing here. And it just really, really kind of like boggles the mind here. But that is the comic book highlight of the week here. I'm going to try to keep comic book highlights for the week kind of short and sweet, because I don't want to get into the whole speculation type thing, but these are things that I pick up and see that it's like, you know what, this is what I'm thinking that should be graded, or this is what I think most people would like here type deals. So pretty much that's what's actually happening here, and how things are in the bigger scheme of things here. So bear with me for another moment here. All right. So on that note, let's get into the topic of the night here. And the topic of the night is exactly what we have on the title here. Are we falling for the money trap when it comes to our entertainment? Whether it be with how many comic books are there in that particular series? In this one, in that particular series of Volume 1 of Gotham City Sirens, I believe it is. Come on, I just had it here a second ago. 26 issues. It's 26. It's 26 issues in Gotham City Sirens, of which I have all 26. So, yes. So that one is 26 issues here. So that's worthwhile in the long run here. But getting into the thing about the money trap. We tend to spend a lot of money on entertainment, whether it be going to the movies, whether it be DVDs, whether it be video games, whether it be streaming services, whether it be going to like a baseball game or a basketball game or a football game. When it comes to entertainment, we spend money. But here's the problem that the reason why I say it is it a money trap, because when it comes to certain things, especially when it comes to certain things that could be deemed collectible, are we paying really too much money for a lot of the stuff that keeps us entertained here? Because when you truly look at it, it's like, when we build up our VHS or DVD or Blu-ray collection, when we build up our CD and vinyl record collections for music, when we build up like comic book collections, or we build up our library of books, are we really overpaying what the content is for, or are we paying what is justifiably correct here? And it's kind of it's like, her mind is blown. It's like 26 issues with racy covers like that. It's like, yeah. Yeah, that's just one of several different series that have been doing that. Now, Gotham City Sirens has 2 volumes. The first volume is 26. I believe the second volume was 4. Gotham City Sirens Volume 2 was 4. And I believe they now have Gotham City Sirens something, in orbit or out of orbit or something like that, where they're in space now. And I believe that's going to be like a 3 or 4 issue miniseries. So that is a key thing here. Yeah, it's another miniseries called Gotham City Sirens in orbit or out of orbit or something like that. They're in space in this miniseries here. They're not dealing with one of the worst characters that they ever created in the Batman universe as Punchline. I don't know what they're doing in space, but I seen one of the foil covers that looked like it had the Sparrow on it. So they're dealing with the Sparrow or something like that. I wouldn't use the word crappy, but yeah, it can be a hard sell here. Yeah, there are many sexy DC covers. You don't understand. She is not a comic book collector per se. She's still learning. She's still learning a lot about a lot of this stuff. So she's not like every day or every week, checking a comic store for books. She might check for a book maybe like once every 6 months to like a year. This is not her wheelhouse. So that's the reason why she asks the questions that she does. So you have to be gentle. Like I always tell people, we always want the people to be turned on to what we're into, not to be turned off. So with that being said about the money trap, it's like you kind of sit back and wonder, are we really paying too much money for what entertains us here? Because when you truly think about it, let's take video games, for example. Back in the day, let's go back to the 2600 days and everything to that magnitude. We were paying $40 and $50 for a bare minimum cartridge here. And then as the platforms and stuff started getting better and better, or as the crash happens, Atari cartridges went for like $40, $50 to like $5 because there are so many of them being created and bootlegs and everything. So, getting a game for like, $3 to $5 was kind of like the deal during the crash. And then all of a sudden, we had a resurgence and now we're back to paying $30 and $40 a cartridge. And then as the generations went on, we went from $30 to $40 to $40 to $50, $50 to $60. And now we're in that $60 to $80 range here. Now, as generations went along here, we have things such as advertisements in our games, which should decrease the cost of the games, because why? You have corporate sponsored advertisements built into the games here to kind of, help them build the game in the first place. So it should bring down the cost here, and it just seemed like it's just weird. It's like $50 and yeah, $50 in 1981 is worth the 70. Yep, exactly. Yep. Yeah, I have to say, you two need to play nice here. We got it taken care of here, so we got it taken care of. But that's the whole point. Even with comic books back in the day is like, 10 cents in 1920s and 30s is nowhere close to like $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 that we pay today. But the question here is it really worth the money that we're paying now for the entertainment? And are we really getting our bang for the buck? Because one of the things that I know that has been brought up several times here I know it's been brought up several times here, is that the cost of a movie ticket, anywhere between $16 to $20 a pop per person, just the ticket alone, to go see it in a movie theater. And you have to think about it. The theater is paying still thousands of dollars to have the privilege of showing you that movie in its venue, charging you an inflated rate per viewing, charging you an inflated rate for concessions to make up for where ticket sales does not cover everything, just for you to enjoy said content. One of the things that Tori asked earlier was, did I go and see the new Superman movie? And the answer was no, because I'm waiting for it to come to streaming. Because if I'm paying, less than $20 or $16 for my streaming that it was going to eventually come to, I might as well wait the few months before it comes to like an HBO Max and watch it that way in the comfort of my home, or my own home theater system and everything to that magnitude, and enjoy it that way. I could make my own popcorn and everything a lot cheaper and everything, and enjoy it and consume it that way. Now, when it comes to streaming, 9 times out of 10, the movie studios are in league with the streaming services, or they put it on their streaming services, and it still makes money for them anyway. So the question here is, if you're in that dire need to go and see it right away, are you really getting your money's worth? Some people feel, they go to a movie theater and see a bad movie that they paid $20 for in today's money. It's not like, back in the day, it's like if you truly didn't like it, or your initial gut opinion is like, I didn't like it, you can't go up to the manager and say, hey, I want my money back. 9 times out of 10, it has to be something dire that happened in that theater room for you to be like, oh, I want a refund of my money because the movie sucked. It's kind of like one of those things that it is what it is. Yeah, with the Biden inflation and Trump tariffs and the strength of the yen, gone with the wind would have made like, $4.3 billion. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I was just thinking about the money. What made me mad in the late '90s and early 2000s? You could have got a game for $60, and then a week later it wasn't popular and went down to half. Yeah, and during the '90s and 2000s, you had places like GameStop, FuncoLand, Replay Games, and all these other places that was doing secondary market reselling of video games. And because they were now on CDs and DVDs, it made it that much easier for them to sell. I mean, think about it. Back in the Super Nintendo days, it's like you go to like FuncoLand and they were up here like, oh, you could sell us back your games and we would give you store credit for you could buy the brand new one that came out here, but they gave you pennies on a dollar for you to buy, for them to buy your game, but yet charge you full rate for anything that was brand new or used, which doesn't make any sense here. Yeah, it's like when I go to the movies, I pretty much have the theater to myself. And again, that's the whole thing. It's like, if you love the theater experience, it probably is worth your money. But if you're not one of those that have to have that theater experience, are you really getting your money's worth? That's the other thing here. Yeah, every Switch game that is 5 years old is still like $743. Yeah. Those things, and what makes the Switch games even more suspect, that they're on what I consider no different than the SD cards that I have sitting over here. It's a game on an SD card that is getting read a special way. So, Nintendo Switch, the Switch Lite and all the new ones that's coming out, the Switch 2, it's nothing more than, your video game on a SD card, but it's a especially encoded SD card, and it's not copyable. And that's the other thing here, because that was one of the things that a lot of people were trying to do here, especially with the, starting with the PlayStation era. And I never noticed it with Saturn, because Sega Saturn came out first. You didn't have a lot of people copying Sega Saturn games, but you had a lot of people trying to copy PlayStation games, because the medium that they put those games on were easily transferable on a regular PC, until they started doing all the nice little copy protection and everything. And people used to think that the black discs were special. It's like, no, you could buy black writable CDs back then too. So it was what it was. And she says, like, yeah, it's like, yeah, F, like it was out. It's like, get out the house. It was one of those few things I can do that always handicap friendly. Yeah. And that's why I said, for you, the experience is worth it. The theater experience is worth it. You get something special out of that. So that environment, that's just like people who, love going to restaurants and having a good sit down dinner in a restaurant. It's the ambiance that you're really paying for the exorbitant price that you paid for a nice sit down steak at like a steakhouse, like at Gibson's or something to that magnitude. Because 12 people had the Saturn here in the unit. No, it was more than 12 people, but that's not the point. That's not the point. It was just more along the lines that nobody thought about it. Nobody thought about it until after everybody, like you said, the majority of the people started flocking to the PlayStation. Because Sega Saturn has been out months beforehand, and it's not like a whole bunch of people didn't have it. It's just not a lot of people enjoyed the games on it. And besides, we wasn't getting the games that they was getting in Japan, because if we were getting a lot of the games that they was getting in Japan, the Sega Saturn would have been a lot bigger here. That's the other thing here. But we won't get into gaming history just as of yet. But that was the point. It's like, it's just for some reason the games that came with it here. Yeah, also at that point, DVD burns were super pricey and rare, like in 1999. 1999, actually, CD-ROM drives were really going down cheaper, very, very cheap. You could get like a CD drive that reads CDs for about $50, and you could get a burner for about like $250. So they came down significant, because remember, CD burners and DVD burners were rather expensive for computers back then. I mean, when I say rather, we're talking about upwards of $500 to $600 a pop for just a computer, let alone that here. True spec, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy. And then I'm not even going to go into some of the other stuff, such as, the 3DO and the Philips CDI. I mean, there was a lot of CD based consoles out there that had copyable games here. Same thing with the Turbo CD. But then again, you like people like Paralyzed, like, well, if 16 people had the Saturn in the US, then only maybe about like 3 people had the Turbo Duo from TurboGrafx 16 from NEC. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But you have to think about it. We paid the money for the entertainment. Now, reason I brought up movies first, because it's two hours of your life that you're sitting in a theater. It's not like you could bring that movie home. You can only have whatever you remember is what you take away from you. It's not like you could come home and turn on your television and watch the movie again. And that's kind of like, that's the reason why you're always trying to keep borrowing one of my Dreamcasts too. she loved the Dreamcast because the Dreamcast was nice. It is a nice system and everything because a lot of those games were easily copyable. The Dreamcast did not have very good copy protection on a lot of their stuff, and then they had what is called a disc booter that you could actually make and burn. You put that in first, and then you could put in your copy game into it, and it would load up perfectly fine. And it also got past a lot of the region protection too. So yeah, that's why the Dreamcast was great. Yeah, we all have all of those in our house. Yeah. But it's not like, you go to a movie theater, you see a movie in today's market, pay your $25 and another $20 for your libation. It's like at least you got $20 for popcorn and soda and licorice or whatever candy. Why did it start by? Hold on. Stupid television in the background. Start talking for no reason. Anyway, it's you have $20 worth of libations in your belly, but the movie itself, it's 2 hours. It's like it's only what you remember of it. It's not like you could go home and turn on your television and rewatch it right away after you paid your $20 at the movie theater. So it kind of makes me wonder. It's like, unless you really love the theater atmosphere, is it really worth the money? Same thing could be said about certain comic books. Not every comic book is for everybody. And we typically buy the ones that we like and we enjoy, and then we complain about when creative teams get things wrong and everything to that magnitude. But at least with comic books, I could always pick it back up and come back to it and reread it. The same thing with novels. There's certain novels that we pick up and everything. We'll read it and be like, that's trashy, that's garbage, I don't like it, this, that, and the other, and we put it off to the side. And then there's ones that we love, but even after we pay, our $6.99, $7.99, $12, $15, $20, and sometimes $30 for the novel, we can always come back to it and reread it. You can't always do that for. We can't always do that for movies at a movie theater. You can't always do that for a music concert at a concert hall. Those are two things entertainment wise that, unless you really enjoy that environment, I kind of get to the point where, is it really cost effective? Is it really something that, we pay extra money as a fan? I mean, you could be like a very, very, very big fan. Let's pick on Taylor Swift for right now. You'd be a big fan of Taylor Swift and go to a couple of her concerts, and you're spending hundreds of dollars just to go to the concert. Yeah, you might have great memories of being there, but you still have to pay extra amount of money to either download the music off of Spotify or iTunes and everything to listen to the music again, or turn on a radio and hope that they play the music over live broadcast there. So, for the hundreds of dollars that you're paying for what you're doing here, it's not cost effective if you just want to have the ability to enjoy it anytime that you want. So, it's kind of like one of those things where when you think about the money trap behind it, you have to think about, am I really more into the environment that is set in as opposed to the actual content? I mean, people could say the same thing about YouTube. I mean, there's a lot of YouTube creators out there, me being one of them. I don't create content for every person here, but a lot of the stuff that I do create is really to have conversations with people like you that's in my chat. That's like, saying, yeah, I have that experience. Yeah, this is my experience and this, that, and the other. And we share as a community what's really out there and what things are going on. That actually has value. It actually can give people the means to voice their opinions. It could give people the idea of hey, there's somebody else out there that feels the exact same way that I do. You could give them a sounding board to get their opinion out there. It can serve a lot of purposes in that aspect here. Not everybody pays for what is it called, the subscription service to see everything without commercials and all this other stuff. I mean, granted, it's like it costs you nothing to get, to sign up for it, to have your own account and everything. And it really costs you nothing to create your own content either. But the major thing here is that where it does cost here is like, for me, it's like the web camera that I'm using here. I have to pay for copyrights for some of the music that I use on the show. I have to pay for all this other stuff behind the scenes here that doesn't really get talked about here. So, for me, there's a price associated with creating the content, and I don't mind that price here. But for those who are watching it for free, it's like, not, you're getting some type of value for it, and the price is right. Free to little to nothing. And when I say little to nothing here, I mean, what, a YouTube subscription is sometimes no more than like $4.99 a cup of coffee a month or something to that magnitude. Little to nothing, either free to little to nothing. You're getting great value out of it. But who's to say that you're getting great value out of that movie ticket or that concert ticket? Or in my case, sometimes some of the sporting events that I go to, it's like, who's to say that I'm getting great value out of going to a White Sox game? Yeah, I might pay what, $25 to $30 for the admission ticket, and then maybe another $40 for like hot dogs and a couple of sodas and everything to get me through 9 innings of a baseball game and stuff to that magnitude. And that's not even including, like, sometimes either the L ride or the car fare to get to well, I always call it Comiskey or the Cell. I refuse to call it Guaranteed Rate Field, but to get there and back, there's a cost associated to that. Do I like watching live baseball? Hell yeah. But there's a cost associated with that. Same thing with watching the Chicago Bulls at the United Center. It may cost me 50 or so dollars for a ticket to get my seats, another 40 or $50 for food and everything to get me through 4 quarters of the game here. But the thing here is, do I like the ambiance or the setting that I'm in here? What do I get out of being there live as opposed to watching it on television, which is just as good? And even now, watching it on television is becoming costly because it's not really on broadcast television anymore. If you don't have cable or some type of streaming service that carries it, you're going to be kind of out of luck here. And that's strange because, certain basketball games, it's like it has to be like the game of the week here. But, being here in a big market town like Chicago, it's strange that White Sox games, Bulls games, Blackhawks games, Cubs games, Sky games, and everything are mostly relegated to cable. They're not really on broadcast television unless it's like ABC's Game of the Week or NBC's Game of the Week or NFL on Fox Game of the Week or one of the broadcast games that comes on to lead up into like Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football or Thursday Night Football. The cost of entertainment has a steep money trap to it, and it really comes down to what you truly like about it. If you just truly like the music, you might just be happy with just getting the CDs and just listening to it that way. But again, you're going to have those fans that say it's like, you can't be a real fan until you actually get the full experience of witnessing it in concert. What are concerts that I really would like to go to, I cannot ever do now. Why? Because the artist is dead. Quotation around the artist, just to give you an idea who I was talking about. Now, he did die, surprisingly. I was dismayed here. I seen all the people who were in some of his former bands talk about how great of a guy he was and everything. And then after his death, there was no real scandals going on. There was nobody really saying anything bad about him. He did a lot of people in the music industry very, very well. And I have those moments where he did a lot of different television shows. I forgot the one that the Fox show that he used to do several different episodes with Fox. I forgot the title of the sitcom. But yeah, deep down, he was I feel like he was a genuine good guy. But I would never see him in concert because when he was here, a lot of stuff was too much money for me to really go out there, and then I have to deal with the concert atmosphere. Not to say that I haven't been to a concert. It's just that I know for a fact concerts are not my cup of tea. Going to movies, it's a little bit more, but I haven't been to a movie theater in over 20 years, And again, people up here is like, oh, COVID hurt the movie industry. It's like, no, the movie industry hurt the movie industry because a lot of stuff got overpriced here. And then a lot of the movies that we went out to go see, first run at the theater, a lot of them were not good enough to really appease a lot of people. It was something to do. It was something to do. It's just something to kill 2 hours. Oh, that reminds me. Another one that we haven't talked about here, amusement parks. Another form of entertainment. But is it really worth the money that we paid to go to like a Great America or a Disneyland or a Disney World or another Six Flags park or Dollywood or all of these other amusement parks that's across the country? It's a great experience. Don't get me wrong. Amusement parks are great experiences. But after you pay the ticket, after to get in, and then if you have to pay tickets for rides and whatnot, and after you pay for the food, which is skyrocketed in those places and everything to that magnitude. And in some cases, if you have to travel to a different city after you pay for lodging and all the other stuff here, is it truly worth the money? And the only thing I can say is that your own experience will dictate that. Because if you enjoy yourself in that environment, it could be worth every last penny of it. But if you're not one of those people that enjoys a lot of the niceties and the amenities of being in public, especially in those type of places, might not be. But all that to say is like the money trap beyond all of this is really more or less how we view our enjoyment in certain scenarios. And a lot of times it's really scenarios in public. Because, I thought something, yeah, and it was crazy when it first came out. Yeah, when I remember it became lame to the PlayStation. No, actually, Dreamcast came after PlayStation, and it actually surpassed it because the PlayStation 2 took over because the PlayStation 2 actually rivaled what was in the Dreamcast, and PlayStation 2 kind of got it to the point where, because it was DVD, and the Dreamcast was still CD, or as they call it, GCD, because GCDs they had a higher capacity rate. They actually stored more on the disc than what was on standard CDs here. But the but the PlayStation 2 was an actual DVD player / system, and that's the reason why PlayStation outdid the Dreamcast here, but not the PlayStation 1. We're talking about PlayStation 2 era. That's a major difference here. And again, PlayStation 2 outdid the Dreamcast, N64, And what was the other one here? And GameCube. So you had all those things going on during that time here. So, it's kind of like one of those things that, like I said, the mileage of how much enjoyment you get out of the dollars that you spend for entertainment really depends on your enjoyment. If you like going out to like the drive-in, and trust me, drive-ins could be fun. Drive-ins could be actually fun. That's something that you might want to join in on. If you like going to AMC theaters, more power to you. But it's just not for everyone. And with the invention of streaming services, there's a lot of times that if you wait long enough, it comes to streaming, you have the same type of experience right there in your own home for a lot cheaper value. And I get it. Some people just like getting out and about. They get sick and tired of being stuck at home. But there's other things that you could do. Like, for example, it's like, my entertainment dollar is like, I don't mind going out bowling every once in a while. That's a very fun thing to do with around the right type of people, and you have the right type of conversations and the right type of merriment. That's a fun thing to do. It's right up there with the price of going to the movies and everything. Probably a little bit more expensive, but at the same time, once like in my case, I have actual bowling equipment. So I have like my own bowling ball, my own bowling shoes, and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So going to a bowling alley, it just would cost me whatever it costs to get the lanes for how many ever games or whatever food that I want to buy. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot more. It takes a lot more to evaluate how far that money trap goes here. But when you think about it, it's like you got people who go every week to the movies every week. So if you do that 4 to 5 times a week, that's $100 something just for the ticket. That's even before you get into like the concessions and everything. That could, be money applied towards, groceries and other stuff here. And that is assuming that you're only going to one movie a week. What if you're doing 3 or more? That's a lot of money to be putting out there. Same thing with comic books. With all these variant covers and everything, these 1 in 10s, 1 in 25s, and 1 in 100s, that now it's no longer cover price. Now you're paying $20 and $30 and $40 and $50 and $100 for these books, whether it be once a week or once a month. That adds up to a lot of money that could be put towards other things here. But we're doing this all for the sake of our own entertainment. But the reason I bring this topic up is to really kind of reflect on what value are we truly getting out of it. Now, one of the things that I've made certain that we're not talking about, and we're not going to go that route here, we're not going the whole investment route. Because if we go the whole investment route here, that's when you get into that whole thing about profit loss and what is acceptable loss and everything to that magnitude. We're not doing that. We're only dealing with enjoyment. We're looking at, does this make you happy? And if it makes you happy, more power to you. Because nobody's going to, at least I'm not going to speak for my chat here. At least I'm not going to say you're going to be in the wrong if you enjoy going to the movies at the theaters, if you enjoy going to concerts, if you enjoy going to the motor rallies, or that whole going out there to see Bigfoot in the stadium jumping and crushing cars. More power to you for that. Whatever entertains and what you like, go and do it. But the reason I bring up about, are we falling for it? Because eventually it's going to get to the point where it becomes too costly. Our life situations changes, and it becomes too costly for us to constantly go to a movie or to constantly go to a concert or to constantly go and buy every last comic book that we see or to buy every last DVD that we see. It becomes costly. And this is why I ask, are we truly falling for this money trap here? Are our consumer ways for satisfying our entertainment needs outweighing the logic behind just simply being entertained? Are we getting enough bang for our buck to be entertained? You know, what's the purpose of buying a $200 video game when you only play it for 5 minutes and never pick it up again? At that point, there's no value in it. You could probably use that $200 to go see your favorite people in concert and get a lot more enjoyment and something that might stick with you for the rest of your life and experience. Those are the types of things that I want people to truly weigh when it comes to this topic here. It's like, are you really falling for the okie doke, or are you truly getting something out of it? You know, one of the things that I always evaluate comic book conventions, especially since I made the transition from just being somebody that goes to and collects to comic book creator. A lot of times I try not to solely look at sales. What I look at is, how many people did I actually talk to? How many people did I actually encourage to get into collecting more? Not necessarily reading my stuff, but getting to collecting, to get into the hobby, or interested into looking into other like books or similar books to what I create. Because that goes a lot further to help them get to what truly entertains them. And in the long run, what I have seen here, for every good deed that you do, karma comes back around, and people, come back around and they buy your wares. Not necessarily the same person that you help, but karma has its way. The circle of life has its way. So, you can't just be, mean and rude to everybody, but you have to be understanding to, it's like, you don't know what effect you have on other people when you first met them. Some of the things that you have to also be mindful of is when you first meet them and they are in need, your reaction can leave that lasting impression where it's like, oh, don't bother that person. That person is, they just don't want to take the time and this, that, or the other. Or, I remember that guy. I was down on my luck and this, that, or the other, and he took the time to spend 15 minutes with me to get my spirits up just by saying hi and just asking me about my day. You know what? I'm going to go over there and I see that he got his own booth and I see that he got his own price. I'm going to take a look and see what he got for it and see if I can afford something. You never know. And that's the key thing here about why the topic is the way that it is. My job is not to convince you to stop doing one thing or to start doing one thing. It's an open conversation to really examine where you're at in the bigger scheme of things here. I can't tell you how to spend your money. It's your money. Just like you can't tell me how to spend my money. It's my money. But we can't have conversations as far as why we enjoy spending on things that we do. As I said in the very beginning, it's always better to turn people on to stuff than to turn them off. And Parallax knows there's a lot of people that have turned me off to Star Wars just because of the fandom aspect of it. But I know a lot of Star Wars fans that loves it and has explained a lot of stuff to me and got me into watching a lot of the movies and stuff and seeing it from their point of view without being the snarky I know everything. You're not going to be a true fan because you're not going to go ahead and read all of this other nonsense. Those people, you just got to toss to the wayside and just let their impressions not resonate. But for the ones who are taking the time and explaining why they love that series, I appreciate that type of stuff. I will take the time to sit down and watch with them and understand why they love it. Yeah, Joe hates Star Wars, but talks to a girl named Leia on a daily. that is messed up. But to say the same thing here is this here. You always want to turn people onto something. I mean, I could sit here and talk about creating comic books all day long, but I want people to be turned on to creativity, not to how I specifically do comics. I want them to be creative. If you love writing, I want you to start writing and be creative in your writing. If you love drawing, I want you to be creative in your drawing. Not just always draw one thing. If you like drawing pink ponies, sometimes up here it's like, why don't you draw a zebra? Why don't you draw a walrus? Why don't you draw a hedgehog? And then draw a bridge, draw a rose. Expand your horizons. And that's pretty much everything what it boils back down to. Is really how deep are your horizons here when it comes to your entertainment? Are you really gaining the experience that you want out of it? And in this day and age, and I hate to say it this way here, and it's not a dig. It's not a dig. It's not a generational dig or anything to that magnitude. But we are in a day and age where, with the aspect of digital, a lot of the younger people are used to having freer access to a lot of content. And it skews their view of what is worth the money to pay for and what is not. Just because, bootleg sites and pirate sites and everything has these books for you to be books, music, movies, and everything for you to be able to view for free 99 doesn't necessarily mean that free 99 is always the way to go to support those things that you like. Eventually, you're going to have to pay for those things that you like here. So if you did get the free 99 bootleg, Taylor Swift CD or the latest album from Taylor Swift, when you go to that concert, you kind of have to also say, it's like, if you pay the money to go to the concert, you kind of paying the money to, and kind of like, if I could say in a way, for retribution to gain the music at a pirate site. It kind of works out in the wash in that aspect here. But eventually, you're going to have to pay for those things that you like and love. You can always get the digitals of your favorite, DC or Marvel comic book on these pirate sites here. But when you go watch a MCU movie or a DCU movie, you're kind of paying for, the free 99 stuff that you've been downloading. You're going to eventually pay for what you love. You can't get around it. And that's kind of like one of the things that, I have to bring it up about, the money trap here. I mean, we do have greater technology now here, especially, once I found out about the Raspberry Pi devices and building these mini computers that could run like video game PCB boards through emulation. A lot of kids and stuff ran to the emulation and everything and think it's like, hey, it's free to play this, that, the other. I get the experience here. but it's still not the same as dropping the quarter in the actual machine. It's not the same to going into the old school arcade experience here. It's not the same of is in my case from every so often buying the actual PCB board and playing it off of a super gun, connecting up to my television and playing it off of a super gun. Eventually you pay for what you truly love, and there's no way around it. It's just a fact of life. Yeah, you think that everything is convenient and everything, but if you really get into the bigger scheme of things here, it's going to be one or two things here. Either you're going to be paying for the devices to actually emulate the stuff, or you're going to eventually gravitate towards the other end, which is the devices that those games actually work on. And I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying that people are inherently bad, good, or indifferent one way or the other. But the point that I'm bringing out here is that when it comes to entertainment, 9 times out of 10, you will pay for what you like and love. And on that note, if you guys got any comments here, let's go ahead and have them, because I think I am done on this topic. That's pretty much all I have to say here. I thought we were going to have something a little bit deeper than anything, but I guess the majority of you are agreeing to what I'm saying here. So it's just going to be one of those things. It's not as bad as I would say this. It's not as the chat is not as chatty as it was from the other one, which was the TNA conversation for last week. I don't know. It goes to the old adage, sex sells, and people had their say about sexy covers, sexy variants, and representation of the actual comic book story not matching up to what's on the cover. So, that's a little bit different here. But what do you guys think about this topic here? What did you guys, anything else that you want to say on this topic? Because if not, I will move the show on to getting ready to wrap up here. So here's your chance to have the floor and speak your piece. So I give you guys a couple of moments here. See if anybody says anything. And if not, we are going to wrap everything up. Just double checking something on the phone here. Never. That's all I'm trying to do here. So with that in mind, it looks like nobody is saying much of anything here. So I guess I bid you guys adieu. What? Hold on. Never fails here. Buy you something fattening. Huh. I just try to think. It's like, how is that entertaining? Well, it might be entertaining for you. That's the reason why I'm trying to bring it back to the topic. It's like, is that entertaining for me? No, but that might be entertaining for you. Yeah. Clyde sent me 2 cakes. Oh, that's nice. That was very nice here. That was very, 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 very nice. But there is a secret. And certain people already know what that secret is. And it will be coming your way soon. Probably within the next month. So I would say that much. But those who are in the know, and that's in your immediate, probably in your immediate vicinity, yeah, tongue tied, vicinity, already know what it is. So you gotta wait. No, I don't have secret wars. No. That's why. Yep. The only hint that I'm giving to you here is that a certain, and this, and you have to probably think about this because I have asked Mr. Randall Randall P. Cunning Tusha for certain books. One of them I was able to find. And I'm up here like, yep, this is going that direction here. Why are you doing that? That is torture. Don't torture. Beanie, you use your training. Use your training. Be like, there is no secret. The secret is all in your mind. That's what you need to do. But on that note, it looks like there's not too much other things that are being said in the chat here. So we are going to call it a night for this episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I do hope that you guys enjoy the topics that I've been bringing forth over the last couple of weeks here. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week here, so I'm just going to kind of sleep on it and everything here. But before we go here, there really have not been any new developments as far as the books that are in development as of right now. I am working on chapter 3 for the Legends story that's in the anthology book here, and I'm still about to get this table back here ready for me to get back to drawing here. So without the table, that table, I can't draw. So it's like I need to be like sweep all the books and stuff off here and start taping down Bristol boards and get to work here. So yeah, there's going to be Amazonia stuff coming soon here, as well as Primetime Saturday Night 6 soon as well. So on that note, live life, grow, and be well. I will see you guys here next week. Same desk time, same desk channel. That doesn't sound right. Anyway, back in my mind is now thinking about the Spider-Man theme song for Spidey Super Stories for Electric Company. Talking about Spider-Man. Where it's like, wherever have you come from, Spider-Man? We don't know who you really are. So yeah, look it up on YouTube. Look up the theme for that. It's no other theme like it. But when you grow up watching the Electric Company and watching Spidey Super Stories, those are the types of things that kind of stick and resonate with you after you see it again here. So until next week, we're out of here. Bye.